Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. So let's resume and get done with the second part of this lecture. So we were discussing another type of web application that we normally and mostly like most of the people on this planet they spend most of their time in, and those are basically these social networks or online social networks. So social networks, as the term social suggests, these are networks where people they engage with each other. Okay, so you have this online community of friends, and you go online on using your phones or computers, and you interact with each other. Okay, you share your ideas, stories, photos, music, videos, and people who are on your friend list they look at all that, and if they are following you, all that material appears on their personal kind of web page for that particular social network, which may be given different names by different networks. For example, Facebook calls it as the wall. So this is say your personal wall. So all your friends or whoever, whatever they do, so it may appear on your personal wall depending upon your settings, and all your likes and comments and everything, or the likes and comments of your friends, you get notified about all that. That may appear on your wall. Similarly, you can create, or any organization can create their own pages, and they can advertise their businesses or themselves or their communities or their colleges, and they can sell things, they can attract people. So it can be used for all sorts of purposes. So, say for example, this is the page for the book, the textbook that we are basically going through, Discovering Computers. And our university also has a web page through which the university interacts with the people or community that follows it. So if you like a particular page, then posts on that page they will appear on your personal pages or on your personal walls or your personal feeds. So you can have all these names: walls, feeds, personal pages. So this is how your social media works. So I guess most of you would be spending quite a lot of time there. So you would have pretty much a very good idea about how these systems work, these platforms work. Now, you must be aware of, whenever you go online, you must be aware of your safety and security. And this safety and security is basically the safety and security of your data, your identity, and things can get very, your privacy. Okay, so like you must be very careful about the type of information that you share online and with the people whom you share that information online. You must also be very careful about viruses and malware. So viruses are basically computer programs. So it is computer code. These are instructions for the computer, but these instructions or this code, they can harm your computer. The harm may not be physical, but they can delete your files, they can hide your files, they can encrypt your files. Okay, so there was this ransomware. So ransomware, what they did was they infected computers and they encrypted the user's data. Encrypt means the data is converted into a form that you cannot recognize. For example, if you have these slides on your computer and somebody encrypts these slides, so those slides would then appear as gibberish for you. Okay, so you won't be able to understand it unless that person decrypts it for you. So that is how ransomware work. So they would basically infect a user's computer, and when the user's computer is infected, they would encrypt all the data that the user might have, and they would then demand payment or ransom from the user for their data. Okay, and the payment is usually collected in digital currencies. Okay, digital currencies, you might have heard of the name Bitcoin. So these are digital currencies, and those currencies are difficult to trace. So it is very difficult to follow those transactions, like who paid whom. So you can make anonymous transactions. So that's why they basically accept digital transactions, transactions or payment in digital currencies. Okay, so these are the potential risks of going online or having your devices online. Similarly, we talked about other things. Privacy is another issue. So your data that you share, like you share some of that data, and you want that data to remain private. You don't want it to be available to the general public. For example, your phone number or your credit card information. So you may go online, you may buy something, you use your credit card information, and you don't want that information to be available to the general public, okay, because that can be misused. And so this is an important concern. So whenever you go online, you should be careful about these things. You should know what to share and where to share, and you should always be sharing information on need to know basis. Okay, so you should share things wherever it is needed, it is absolutely necessary. You should share that information, and you should make sure that that information, private information, stays private. Okay, so you should understand the privacy terms and conditions of any platform, and you should act accordingly. Similarly, like you should also protect your computers and mobile devices. You should use passwords, login passwords, and you should use difficult or strong login passwords. Okay, the passwords should not be commonly used passwords or easily guessable. Then, whenever you're interacting with technology, you should always be aware of health concerns, possible health concerns. Like it is not healthy to stay online virtually 24/7. You spend all your time online, so it is physically not good for. It is not good for your physical health as well as mental well-being. So all these things, like it can give rise to all sorts of health issues. For example, physically, if you're looking constantly at your mobile phone, then your head, it weighs quite a lot, and the amount of stress that your muscles, neck muscles, would be bearing by constant you and you're constantly looking at the mobile screen. So that stress and strain, that it would affect the muscles in your neck, and it will in the long term it would give you problems in your neck and backbone. Similarly, your eyesight, like you can get myopic vision well ahead of time. Like you won't be able to see things at a distance clearly because of constantly looking at a mobile screen. And it is quite a common problem in countries where uh, most of the population, it is hooked onto the screens almost all the time, or from a very young age. So now people are realizing these issues, and they are basically coming up with reasonably good ways of allowing their kids to use or interact with technology, and also to ensure that they do it in a healthy way. Similarly, you should also be concerned with environmental impact of computing. So electronic waste is a very serious problem. Although we may go for a new phone, we may want to go for a new phone all the time, and these companies or corporations, they may want to sell those phones to us all the time. But the phones that we discard, the phones that become useless, those phones, they pose in a very important or challenging environmental issue. Okay, so like those are they are basically a type of waste that we call e-waste or electronic waste, and it is very difficult to process that waste. Okay, they contain heavy metals, and processing them is very difficult and requires plenty of investment. And those heavy metals can find their way into our food. They can mix up with the water, or so whenever you are using these technologies, this environmental impact of these technology, it should also be on your mind. Some issues are related to electronic waste. Some issues are related to the way these products are created, the way their ingredients or source materials are taken out from the earth. So whether that is a sustainable way in which those materials are sourced, and how are they used, whether they are recycled or not. So we should be going for technologies that encourage, or products that encourage recycling or reusing, or for which the materials are ethically sourced, and which are sustainable. Okay, so these are the issues that we should also bear in our minds whenever we are using digital technologies. There is a term called green computing, and green computing is basically computing that is greener or friendlier to the environment, that does not damage the environment as much as normal computing would do. Now, what it involves is it involves reducing the amount of electricity consumed. So we should be going for technologies that use little power, and it also involves uh, the reduction of environmental waste or electronic waste generated when we are using these computers. So, how can we achieve green computing? So, the strategies that may be used for achieving green computing is, one is recycling. We should have a mechanism where we are able to recycle electronic waste and make it useful again. We should go for energy efficient hardware and energy saving features. This is very important in order to reduce the energy footprint of these devices. The manufacturing processes should be regulated. Regulated means they should have more oversight from the government and from the environmental protection agencies and all these things. So we should ensure that the materials used in these manufacturing processes, they are sourced in a sustainable way from the earth, like they do not permanently end up damaging the environment. We should be working for the extension of the life of computers. Like we should not go for replacing a computer every so often. We should have designs of computers that can be upgraded without replacement. Okay, so we should have some kind of that mechanism so that the life of those computers can be extended or increased. And like disposing of the used computers, that should be done in a proper way. Either used computers should be donated if they are in working condition. They should be given to someone. They should not be thrown as waste. They should be given to someone who needs a computer and would otherwise require to buy a new computer, so they can use the used old one, and that way we would somehow reduce the amount of electronic waste in the long run. Okay, after that, we want to introduce the software side of things. We talked about hardware. Hardware is basically the tangible or physical things that you see in a computer and that you can touch. Software are basically programs. They are also called software is also called programs. They are intangible. You cannot touch them or feel them. You can just look at their effects. So software is basically instructions for the computer on what tasks to perform and how to perform. Okay. So there are two types of software. One is the system software, which includes operating systems and tools like compilers or interpreters or assemblers. And the other is application software. So application software includes software that is built for a particular application for a particular purpose. Say, for example, I'm presenting to you this presentation was made in Microsoft PowerPoint. So Microsoft PowerPoint is an application software, and its purpose is to help create presentation and help present or communicate ideas. Okay. Similarly, we are recording this video using OBS Open Studio. So the purpose of OBS Open Studio is that it can record on-screen videos. So whatever I do on the screen, so it records that, and whatever I speak into my mic, it records that. So it is a special purpose software. Operating system, on the other hand, it basically allows you to use your hardware resources. So without the operating system, you cannot use your hardware resources. You cannot use your microprocessor, you cannot access the RAM, hard drive, and all the other devices that are connected to your system. Okay, so system software includes operating system and tools that help you develop software. So all those tools, they are part of, they can be categorized into system software. Examples of operating systems, of course, there are plenty of examples. We have the Microsoft Windows operating system, a very popular desktop operating system. We have the Mac OS operating system. It is also for desktops and laptops. Okay, we have the iOS for smartphones and tablets. We have Android for smartphones and tablets, smart TVs, music players. So all those things, they pretty much use Android operating system. And there's another very popular open source operating system, Linux. It is not mentioned here, but it is open source, it is free, and it is very popular and stable operating system. So these are all examples of system software or operating systems. Okay. Then we have application softwares. Application softwares are basically softwares for a particular application. Say, for example, this one is a video editing software. So it has just one purpose. It is used for editing videos and creating videos. Similarly, we can have other examples. We can have a word processor, just like Microsoft Word, or we can have, there are some free and open source word processors also. I'm forgetting the names, but let's see if I recall. I'll mention it somewhere else. But you use a word processor software for creating or writing letters, reports, and other documents. Similarly, use a presentation software uh, like Microsoft PowerPoint to create presentations, which are basically visual aids for presentation. So you have these images and text and these animations, and these help you present ideas. We can have software for managing contacts, schedules, just like calendars. So we can have a calendar, we can organize, create appointments, and etc. We can have software for managing personal finances. We can have photo editing, video and audio editing software. We can have media players that would play videos and audios and show images. We can have navigation software. So these are all application software. Okay, they have a specific purpose. They are created for a specific purpose. Unlike the operating system or system software, they have only one purpose, and that purpose is to allow you to use your hardware. Okay. How do we use these programs and apps? So in order to be able to use a program, you need to install that program. So what is installation? So installing a program is the process of setting up the program to work with a computer or mobile device. So if you have a mobile device, you want to install a new app, you go to the App Store or you go to the Google Play Store, you find that app, you download it, and then you install it. So once you install it, then that software is set up. That app is set up on your phone or on your computer. By setup, we means, for example, I hope like you have plenty of experience in installing apps. So the app is its executable files are copied onto your computer, onto your phone, and then it asks you for different permissions. Okay, you grant those permissions, and then if you need to set up some account, so you do all that. That is not part of installation. That is part of the later process of setting up the program for use. But installation involves similar things. It involves copying the executable files of the app or the program onto your mobile device or computer so that you can execute those programs. And the software or app also, it basically mm, it is set up in a way so that it can access or work with the hardware of your mobile device or your computer. Once you install an app or a program, you can run that program. Okay. Say for example, this is Windows environment, and in the Windows environment, I have plenty of programs or software installed. So this is OBS. This is I use this program for recording these video lectures. Okay, so it is installed. I have a shortcut here on my desktop. There's a shortcut for this software here in my start menu as well. So I can look it up. Say for example, here we have a folder OBS Studio, and then we have the OBS shortcut for OBS Studio software, and then shortcut for uninstalling it. Similarly, I have other software, and shortcuts for those softwares are included. So these are all installed. The installed softwares, they will appear in my main menu. Okay, they will appear here. Similarly, when you install a software on your phone, an app on your phone, so a tile for that app is created on your phone's main screen or something like that. Okay? So you interact with the program through its user interface. So what is user interface? So user interface is, this is the user interface. This is what the user of Microsoft PowerPoint sees. So it has these menus. Okay, sorry, it has these menus. This is the file menu. I can use it to create, save this file as, to print it, to share it, to export it into some other format, to create a new presentation. Then we have these tabs. Okay, so this is one tab, and this tab has these buttons. So I can use these buttons to do certain things. Then there's another tab, and through this tab I can do something else. So this kind of interface is a graphical user interface, and using this graphical user interface, I can interact with the software and do different things. Then we have another kind of interface, and that interface is called command line interface. Okay, so if you print CMD on here and then you press enter, so you will get the command prompt. Okay, so this is the command prompt. Command prompt is basically a window where you can enter DOS commands. Okay, so DOS was the first operating system that Microsoft created. It stands for disk operating system. Disk operating system. And to date, like, you can use it was disk operating system. Okay, so to date, you can use disk DOS commands on Windows. So right now I tried to enter this command. It says disk is not recognized as internal and external command. So there are some commands that you can use. For example, if you want to find out the list of files and folders in this directory, you can use the command dir. Okay, so dir means directory. So directory will list all the folders and files inside a particular directory. Okay, so I just wanted to give you this example. This is an example of, this is a command line interface. Okay, uh, command line interface. Let me write it. Command line interface. So we have two types of interfaces. One is a GUI, graphical user interface, and the other is a command line interface. So command line interface, in the command line interface, you just enter commands. For example, I entered the dir command. So dir command basically lists all the files and folders in a directory, in a folder. There's another command, cls, clear screen. If you enter it, so the screen will be clear. So in the early days of computing, computers had this sort of interface, command line interface. You would see this black screen, and you would see this cursor blinking on the screen, and you would enter the commands. Okay, so the problem with this interface was that you had to memorize all those commands, and then you have had to enter these commands one by one. Okay, still many operating systems, they use this sort of interface. Linux has a shell. This is called a command prompt in Windows. In Linux, we have a shell. Okay, a shell also appears like, um, although by definition shell is something different. It is a part of the operating system, a certain part of the operating system. But this is the interface of the shell is just like this. Like, usually it used to be a command line interface. So you would enter Linux or Unix commands, and you would get things done. But now, like, we have this graphical user interface where we have these tiles and toolbars and buttons and menus and all these things. So you interact with any program using its interface. Okay, so we mentioned these things. Interfaces of two types. One is CLI interface. That is basically command line interface. I gave you an example of command line interface. Okay. And the other is GUI or GUI. GUI. It is graphical user interface. So graphical user interface, the interface that you nowadays use, whether it is Windows, whether it is iOS or Android. So it is all graphical user interface. Okay? So you have these buttons, you have these text boxes, you have these menus, and using those buttons and menus and those things, you interact with the software. So that is GUI. Okay. Now, who develops software? So the person or the guy who develops software is called a software developer. Okay. So a software developer develops software. Now, after going through this course, you won't become a software developer, but you will become a novice programmer. Okay, we will teach you in the second part of this course. We will learn something about programming. So, programming is basically writing software. So, developer is a person who writes software or develops software or writes instructions, programs or instructions for the computer. Using those instructions, then the computer can do something useful. Okay. So a software developer or simply a developer or a programmer is the same person. Okay. A person who writes software or programs, you can call them apps as well. And they are basically set of instructions. They are basically instructions for the computer or the mobile device to process data. Okay. So this is how these are the steps for installing programs and apps on mobile. You can read these through. We have talked about it. There is nothing difficult about it. This is for your information. You can go through it. Uh, and this is an example of a code. Okay, this code is written in VB, visualbasic.net. Okay, so this is written in Visual Basic. This is an example of the kind of thing that software developers do. So some software developer wrote this code, and when this code is executed, you get this graphical user interface, and this graphical user interface basically calculates the pay for a particular employee, okay, depending upon the hours worked and all that. Then we need to talk about something about communications and networks. We talked about the internet and we talked about the World Wide Web, and all that is possible because of communication technologies that have enabled the creation of these internet and all these things. Okay, so every day it is likely that we use information generated by one of these technologies. Like you may get something from some chat room or WhatsApp group or an email. For example, if I post something in the Google Classroom, you will be notified via email. uh, Maybe you do not work in offices, so you may not come across faxes, but you may download or some access some file from the internet, so you might be using uh, FTP, file transfer protocol, to get that file. You have Most of you have smartphones, so you are using GPS, global positioning system, this technology, and that satellite basically generates location data. So you are using all this data generated through different technologies, and these are all different types of communication technologies. Similarly, you may be using instant messaging like WhatsApp. You may be accessing the internet. You may be part of some news group. You may have subscribed to receive some RSS feeds. What are these? These will be explained in the later slides. You may engage in video conference calls. You may send or receive voicemails or voice messages. Okay. Similarly, you may be making calls on VoIP to some phones via VoIP. VoIP is voice over IP, voice over internet. Okay. So if you try calling a landline or a computer using the internet, using some software, so that is basically voice over IP or VoIP. Okay. So these are descriptions of whatever we talked about, whatever I said. This is a written description of these. You can go through these. Uh, Now, all this is possible. These communication and networks, it is made possible by certain hardware. Okay, So there are certain communications devices that you may have installed at your home, inside your computers, on your phones, and you use those devices to communicate or transfer your data from computer and device. Okay, so communication devices is basically hardware that is capable of transferring items from your computers and devices to transmission media. So, for example, you may have an internet connection on your phone line, and you use that internet connection to transmit data, to make calls, to download files, to download videos, to watch videos. So all that data is being transmitted over the telephone line. But the telephone line, in order to be able to send that data on the telephone line, you need a specific communications device, and that device is called your modem. Okay, so if you look at a typical setting, this is how things are. You have a modem, and that modem is connected with some medium. It may be your telephone line, a copper line. It may be a fiber optic modem that is connected to a fiber optic line, and that line or that fiber optic or that copper line, it may be connected to the internet via your service provider. Okay, so you have a modem. With this modem, you may have a wireless Wi-Fi router that is connected to this modem. So the Wi-Fi router can, these devices then they are connected to the Wi-Fi router. The Wi-Fi router is connected to the modem, to the internet via this modem. So these devices then access the internet via the Wi-Fi router and the modem, so they are connected to the internet. Similarly, your laptop may have its own wireless adapter. So using that wireless adapter, it is connected to this wireless access point or Wi-Fi router. Okay, and then through this router, it is connected to the modem and the internet. Similarly, the desktop may have a wired connection. Okay, they are connected by wireless, and it may be connected via a wired connection or Ethernet connection. So wireless communication technologies that you commonly use, they are Wi-Fi. You are connected, almost always connected to the Wi-Fi in your home or at the university. Similarly, you also use Bluetooth. Bluetooth is it has a specific purpose. It is used for connecting devices with each other. It has a small range. And then your phone, it also uses Wi-Fi technology, but all these technologies, they use different frequencies. So it uses different frequency. Bluetooth uses different frequency. Cellular radio uses different frequency. And then the transmission technology, it is also a little bit different, like how information is coded on these media. That may be slightly different. So these devices, these communication devices, when they start communicating with each other, they get connected with each other, and then a network is created. So a network is basically a collection of computers and devices that are connected to each other. So when all your devices at home, your desktop computer, your laptop, your printer, or your phone, when they are connected to the Wi-Fi router or wireless network in your home, so they basically create a network. Okay, so that may be your home network. The home network, you may create a network with a server. A server is a computer, a special purpose computer that basically controls the resources of the network, like who gets connected to the network, who can print on this printer, who can access the internet, and all that. So we can have such a network where there is a server, and then there are clients. The clients connect to the server, and the server manages all the resources. Or we can have a peer-to-peer network. We can have a network which does not have this strict client-server architecture, where all computers, like they can communicate as equal nodes. So inside our home, we use networks to connect to the internet, to share a high-speed network connection. We create a internet to share a connection. We create a network to share photos, videos, and music among devices. We want to share devices like printers or other devices that we may have. So we don't want to buy them again and again, like uh, multiple devices. We want to share whatever we have. We may use a home network to play multiplayer games. We may use home network to connect our smart TV or our home consoles to the internet. We may use our home network to subscribe to some voice over IP service like Skype. You can buy some package on Skype, and you can make calls to your relatives abroad on their landlines or on their mobile phones. You can do that, but mostly we don't do that. We call them. They are also connected to the internet, so we just make them. We do not. We just make them voice calls on WhatsApp or all these other services. And if we have smart devices in our home, smart refrigerators and smart dishwashers or smart air conditioning, so it will also need to connect to the internet. So it will also need to become part of the home network. And similarly, businesses or organizations, they also use networks, and their purpose is to facilitate communication among their different offices, to share their hardware resources, and definitely to share data and information and software. Okay, so software is expensive. Businesses, when they buy a software license, they want to use or share the same software with all their uh, sub branches or sub entities or offices. Okay, they don't want to buy individual licenses for everyone's sake. So this is important for the perspective from the perspective of businesses. This is why they create networks, computer networks, facilitate communication, share hardware resources, share data, information, and software. Then again, I guess this is for your information. We can if we are using networks and if our devices are compute connected with each other through the network, then we might be working on common documents. So one person who is sitting on this computer may be working on the same document, while another person might be working on that document using the phone. So the document might be stored on the cloud, okay, in one place. So we need to make sure that the document is synchronized among all these devices. Everyone has the latest copy. So this is about that synchronization issues and all that. This is another example, interactive whiteboards. These are basically computer, like these are screens where touch screens, huge touch screens where many people can um, draw and write and interact with each other and basically share their ideas. Okay, so this is another example where communication tool can be used by businesses or organizations to share ideas and facilitate communication. And then technology, uses of technology. So technology is used almost everywhere. Right now we are using it for education. The government uses it for its running the government finances, accounting, banks, uh, retail. If you visit any departmental store, when you buy something, so your bill is generated using a computer. So the computer keeps track of the inventory and the items that you bought, their prices, and all that. Entertainment, healthcare, science, you name it. Every industry, it uses technology. Okay, so there are home users, people who use this technology at homes, in offices. There are people who are always on the move. There are power users, people who work in big companies or big organization, and they really need powerful computing resources. Then there are enterprise users, people working for banks, big organizations. So all these people, they use technology in a different way. Okay. So that's it. This is the summary. We talked about floats and some terms. We talked about basic computer concepts. We talked about various methods for input, output, memory, and storage in computer. We talked about the internet. We talked about digital security and safety and risks and precautions that we may take. And we also talked about the uses and applications of technology in society. So this is the end of second part of lecture 5. The other one, inshallah, I'll upload in a short while. Thank you.